anything to smile about? Look at that hungry child, yeah. Do you see anything to smile about? Look at the schools where you them go to get them education. Do you see anything to smile about? Look at the conditions of our police stations. Do you see anything to smile about? No. Same time the brother say, how can the nation be living this way? And the next thing him say, how can the government play so many games? Same time my heart fall to the ground, cause there's much more where that comes from. Certain place they are worse than slum. Youth man come and take a look on Riverton. Do you see anything to smile about? Look on Pienland, yeah. Do you see anything to smile about?
Respect making it clear. Guns out this morning. Babylon coming again.
Good morning, Claire.
Guns out this morning. Question, when will it end? Guns out this morning. The whole place under curfew. Guns out this morning. Check this. It was about 12 o'clock when the thunder start clap in the back of Miss Mabel yard. The lightning start flash when me hear the gun crack under me bed for me belly me crawl. Me pray for siren but all I heard was a scream from me next door neighbor a ball. No kill me one son but me still hear the gun. Me couldn't wait till morning come. Whoa. Guns out this morning. Babylon coming again. Guns out this morning. Question, when will it end? Guns out this morning. The whole place under curfew. Guns out this morning. Yeah. So when you see me leaving, ask me where me going deep. Man, I look for somebody good just living. I'd rather be with Vicky than to be a victim of them evil system. You can't believe.
Can you hear me? Maybe not. Hello? Or should I? Hi, Claire. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you, Stephen?
I'm great. So we start at 9, and you'll be presenting sharing your screen from where you are.
Yes. Can we possibly just do it? Would you like to do a check? Can I just check when I actually present that everything goes smoothly?
Sure, no problem.
I was actually just trying to test with my headphones, and for some reason they weren't working. So I'm just going to plug them in again and just see if I can get them to work, and then we can test the screen share. I'm just going to plug the headphones in now.
Okay, no problem. Go ahead.
Can I just check if you can hear me, please?
Yes, we can hear you.
But you're hearing me through my computer, not through my headphones. Okay.
Well, we're hearing you fine, so.
Take them up. Okay, let's test then the screen share. I'm just going to start my video just to and you can hear me nice and clearly?
Sure.
Okay, great. So we would be doing the PowerPoint.
Claire, you seem to be frozen. dropped off. So what's the difference between this and my Okay. Okay. All right. You're muted.
Oh, hi, Stephen.
Hi.
Um, I seem to have lost you. Was that connection on my side or yours?
It seemed to be yours.
Oh dear. Okay, let's hope that that doesn't happen again.
No.
But were you able to see the screen when I screen shared?
No, when
Everything
you
was
did, it
fine.
froze.
Okay, maybe because of the break. Let's try that again.
Yes, that's awesome. Yes, we're seeing you now.
Okay, lovely. You're very quiet on my side. Just as a point, but I hope it's all
Yeah, it's fine. I was
clear.
kind of whispering.
Okay.
Can you hear me properly now?
A little bit better.
Okay.
Stephen, if I can just ask, please, in terms of the delegates that I'll be presenting to, just want to confirm, are they going to be organizations or they're actual parents from the community?
They are parents and early childhood practitioners.
Okay, so it's a mix.
It's a mix, yes.
Okay, all right, thank you. So, and how many people do you anticipate?
Yesterday's session had about 100 persons. So you're on screen, they'll hear you, they'll see you. It's about 100. Could be more, but estimated 100.
Okay, and are people in a hall or are they virtual?
They're in the hall.
Okay, so the moderator, I think it was Claudette, was it? And Shaw.
No, what's her name? Shawnette. Her name is Shawnette.
Okay, so will they be there on this
Yes, she's
kind
right
of on
here.
a podium?
She's right
And
here. So I'll let you speak with her.
okay,
Good morning to you. How are you today?
good morning. I'm well, thanks, and you?
I'm doing okay.
There you are, lovely, yes. Is there anything, I'm just thinking now that I'm understanding a bit about what's happening on your side, is there anything you can do for the volume a little bit louder, perhaps?
Working on it.
Okay, okay. I just want to understand because I've got quite a few questions that I would like to put to the delegates to invite discussion and debate. Would you be able to facilitate that in person then, and get some reflections from the delegates?
Yes, we'll be able to do that.
Okay, lovely. Especially because if I can't hear 100% on my side, you know, it would be better if you have the facilitation then on your side, and then we'll go back to the presentation and work in that fashion.
Yes, that can work.
Okay,
Could you
okay. Thanks.
pronounce your last name so I do not make any errors with it?
It's Naidu.
Naidu. All right. Thank you very much, Miss Naidu.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
You too.
All right, so we'll be starting in about, what, 4 minutes? 2 minutes? All right. So we'll give you a cue when we're ready.
Okay.
Right.
Should I put the presentation up now, Stephen?
That would help, yes.
Commission's 5th staging of the Professional Development Institute. It is so exciting to have you all here. Can I tell you? Yes, it has been 3 wonderful days so far. The theme for this staging is A Place to Belong, a child's right to quality early childhood education. My name is Shawnette Grant. Welcome to you all. Along with my able colleague who has started out yesterday, Mrs. Shirley Pandoi, who would be assisting me throughout today. And again, welcome, and we're pleased to have you all. Our presentations yesterday boosted our knowledge on child rights, the effects of trauma on our children, immunization, and also a bit of empowerment for you, the parents, one of the strongest stakeholders in the early childhood sector. Today, the knowledge sharing continues, and we have some well-rounded speakers to share with you on various topics. On the program today, we have 4 workshops, each lasting 1 hour. We will have 2 sessions in the morning, so the first one, starting now, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m., you get a little break after to stretch them legs, drink some water, take a breather outside, and you rejoin us at 10:30 to 11:30. Please note that during the sessions, you're asked to write down your questions or any comments that you have. The ECC welcomes feedback, so please take the time to just complete the evaluation forms that would be distributed to you, as well as it will be shared with the barcode on the screen. It is very important that we get your feedback for future planning and also for the production of your certificates. Yes, you will get certificates. A register will be circulated for you to sign, as well as a PDI journal. The register will also be shared on screen with a barcode. However, if you have challenges, we have the physical paper for you to sign. We must remember our social media spaces. So to keep the event trending for this week, we ask that you share hashtag ECCPDI 2024, hashtag 12 Standards Matter. Now, let's get into our first session, Empowering Parents, Our Children Together. This session will be led by Claire Naidoo. Let us talk a little about Claire Naidoo. Claire Naidoo is a consultant for the Global Initiative to Support Parents, in short, GISP. GISP is a global platform that works with governments, civil society partners, researchers, and donors to promote universal access to parenting and caregiver support so that every child can receive the support they need during the first 2 decades of life and across the life course. Claire has a background in social and behavior change and was a part of the UNICEF eCaro team that developed the regional framework to support parents, and this will form part of today's presentation. Claire is a doctoral candidate with her research exploring the relationship between behavior and place. Help me welcome Miss Claire Naidoo. She'll be on screen today, so give her a warm Jamaican welcome.
Well, thank you so much for that warm welcome. It is an absolute pleasure being with you this morning. As introduced, my name is Claire Naidoo, and I'm currently based in Johannesburg in South Africa. So normally taken to be a warm place, but not as warm as Jamaica, because as you can see, I'm wearing a winter scarf. But it is my pleasure to do this gathering across the globe to tell you more about the work that is happening around the globe, as well as in your region, with respect to support being offered to parents. So I'd like to start by just saying that despite me being so many miles away, I'm really hoping that we can have an engaging session. So I am going to be leaning quite heavily on the moderators to to facilitate some questions and gather some answers and reflections from you, the delegates. I think that it's really an opportunity for us to reflect on some of the areas around offering support to parents. And in this way, we hope to make the session a thoughtful one, a practical one, something that you can hopefully use in your day-to-day work as professionals, as parents, as caregivers in your community, etc. So I am hoping that we'll make the most of this time together, and it will really help you in as you go forward post this conference. So with that said, a little bit further on the global initiative to support parents. So as mentioned, the GISP, or GISP as it is called, is a global platform that has brought together 5 founding partners who essentially coordinate this global platform. And the platform is all centered around enabling all parents, wherever they are, to access quality parenting support. And we'll go into what that means a little bit later. But it's really about recognizing that all parents and caregivers, wherever they are, need support, and they should have the ability to access that support when they need it and where they need it. It also recognizes that the support that parents need will change as their children grow and develop and have different needs, and as they, as parents and caregivers, change and their circumstances evolve and change, their physical and emotional needs change. So the parenting support is really about recognizing that this is a dynamic process of evolving as individuals. And how do we offer support to parents and caregivers so that they can best enable their children to thrive and achieve their potential? And so the work that is done is really around 4 pillars, which I will go into in a few moments. But these 4 pillars are really around ensuring that there's a strong evidence base for the learnings that emerge and are shared between countries, between regions, and indeed around the globe. As I mentioned, there are 5 coordinating partners. ECDAN, I'm sure many of you are familiar with ECDAN. We also have Parenting for Lifelong Health, UNICEF, WHO, and End Violence was a founding partner, and we now have the International Rescue Committee, which also forms part of this global partnership. So a little bit more on why is it necessary, why is it important that we support parents and caregivers? So the stats are showing that governments around the globe are saying that only 26% of parents are actually able to access the support they need when they need it. So that means around 3/4 of parents and caregivers are actually at a loss. They are vulnerable. They do not have the support and resources and tools and skills that they need to best enable their children to thrive and develop holistically. And why is this important? Well, we know that the early years are really important for children's development. It's a critical phase. And so if parents are not able to really optimize those early years, children may not develop as optimally as they have the potential to. We also know that if parents are equipped with the right knowledge, skills, and behaviors, they are better able to provide children with the right nutrition that they need during those early years, as well as provide the necessary support to enable their optimal growth. Of course, it's very important that mothers, as well as children, have good health starting from preconception. So how do we offer that support to parents from the family planning phase through conception and through the early years? Another important aspect to consider is that evidence is showing that if parenting behaviors are strengthened and supported, we can actually intervene in violence, intimate partner violence, gender-based violence, and other forms of violence, and we can actually intervene and stop that cycle from being perpetrated or perpetuated and violence being perpetrated. And so that has very positive knock-on impacts on children because they do not witness violence, they have a more stable home environment and a more stable emotional background. So parenting interventions are increasingly looking at how they can stop violence against women and children. Of course, if we have positive interactions between parents and caregivers and children right through the first 2 decades through to adolescence, we know that we are better able to offer responsive caregiving to children, and this enables them to develop optimally and to thrive. In terms of the next bullet point, attendance at routine health services. Again, this forms part of service-seeking behavior for parents, and if parents are better informed about the need for them to access health services, they are more likely to do so. And we can go into what that means in later slides, because it is part of an offering from the sector offering the service in terms of offering a comprehensive menu of support to parents. And of course, we know that through strengthening parenting behaviors, we are able to better support good, positive social norms, and this includes positive gender norms. And in this way, we create a holistic way of supporting children's development, well-being, and their growth. And so we're better able to support their ability to thrive and achieve their potential. And of course, this is particularly pronounced during the early years, but really it does extend across the first 2 decades of the child's life. And just to mention that, of course, the parents' and caregivers' needs will evolve during those 2 decades. So as GISP, we really look at the full spectrum of support that is needed for parents and caregivers. So moving along, this is obviously a slide with a lot of content on. We do not need to go into all the details, but I wanted to show here just the thread of how things flow from an intervention through to societal outcomes. And what we're seeing here is that if we have strong evidence-based content that is provided to parents and caregivers, that enables parents to strengthen their skills, strengthen their behaviors, the result is that parenting outcomes are improved. So, for example, the first bullet point there talks to parents will have improved knowledge on children's development and their role as parents. We're less likely to have harsh and abusive parenting. Coupled with that, we have a greater propensity for responsive parenting behaviors, all of which leads to a stronger caregiver and child relationship, and improved mental well-being and overall sense of health and positivity on the part of the parent. And this then results in 2 outcomes. We have adult outcomes, which are positive, and we have child outcomes, which stretch across the nurturing care framework, which I'm sure you're well familiar with. So what we're seeing is that as a result of a parenting intervention, we get positive outcomes for the parent and for the child. And most importantly, as a result of those 2 outcomes, we're seeing benefits across society. We're seeing happier, more stable members of our society at all ages, and this leads to better human capital, of course, improved social capital, and reduced inequalities. So parenting interventions are really a cross-sectoral way of tackling a number of social issues. And it's a very powerful and exciting area. A lot of work is now going into this area because of its potential to achieve such amazing returns on investment. So I spoke a little earlier with respect to the 4 pillars of parenting support. So what you're seeing here is one of those pillars, the pillar of building on evidence. And I mentioned this earlier that the work we're doing is really building on evidence. There's a lot of effort going into research at the moment to build up the evidence base with respect to parenting support. And of course, it is complex because it spans so many sectors. Having said that, there are many frameworks that are emerging which can be used to support the design and scale up of parenting support interventions. And at the bottom row there, you're seeing some of the programs that are now evaluated and available, many of which are open source. So they are available for interventions, whether they NGOs or CBOs, FBOs, etc., to draw down on and to use to customize for local interventions. In that sense, I'd like to mention one of the other pillars, which is that of innovation. So there is innovation coming from this field, and one of the key areas is with respect to how digital interventions can support parenting support. So the far right little icon there is Parenting for Lifelong Health. I'm sure many of you are familiar with the programs that PLH, the acronym, the programs that PLH are putting out, and they are investigating the innovations around delivering parenting support using digital technology such as WhatsApp groups, etc. And they're also evaluating if it had to be done in a hybrid format, so in person as well as using digital technologies. Also to mention that one of the core pillars of the GISP is to share knowledge. And so using these frameworks as well as opportunities such as today where we're dialoguing issues around parenting support, this supports us sharing knowledge. We're gathering evidence and we're sharing it so that it can support the scale up and the work that is being done right from community level through to country and regional level with respect to parenting support. Briefly to mention the 4th pillar. The 4th pillar is that of advocacy. So we are very mindful that parenting support is still a relatively new sector. It obviously spans work that is currently being done in many sectors. Having said that, there is a need to raise the awareness of the need for parenting support, as well as the many benefits that can emerge and result from quality evidence-based parenting support being implemented. So I'm going to pause there for a moment. That was really my introduction on the work that the GISP is doing from a global perspective and how it can translate into work being done at both a regional and a country level. And I'd like to now move on to what I posed a little bit earlier, a little bit of the Q&A with respect to parenting support. And I'm going to ask the moderator for today's session to step forward, please. And I'm going to ask the first of several questions. And this is really, as I said at the outset, just to get everybody thinking a little bit and reflecting and to make this session hopefully a little bit more meaningful and practical as you go back into your day-to-day lives. And the first question is, in our country, how can we better support all parents and caregivers to thrive? And I'm hoping that there'll be some delegates who have some thoughts on that and who are willing to share with the rest of the group how can we better support all parents and caregivers to thrive? Ms. Shawnette, are you there and able to assist, please? I'm afraid I can't see the stage and the podium.
Any takers for that question? No hands? Your thoughts? In our country, how can we better support all parents and caregivers to thrive? No one wants to share? Are you thinking? They're thinking about it, Miss Claire.
Well, perhaps I can pose a few ancillary thoughts to that. Perhaps we can think about it from the level of at a family, at a community, at a sector level, and maybe even nationally. Are there any ways that we could potentially do things differently, do things better, and that would help parents and caregivers?
So in our communities, think of where you're from. How can you make it better in your community for children to be supported?
Good morning, parents and teachers. First of all, I would say care for each other, be our brother's keeper. There are children in our community, sometimes for me, I am a mother, and difficult time will come where caring for my child, and for sometimes it do get frustrating, while there's another parent maybe next door can come and talk to me about how to communicate better with my child, as in, I try to help me to talk to my child how he or she, basically the behavior, because some child act out different from some. You can share your input on how the steps to take to reach my child, share your experience with your child to me, and how you communicate with your child to get them on a better level. So basically we can share input on how I communicate with my child. You can tell me the do's and don'ts, to help us to become better parents and help us to reach more children. And if we, I like to reflect my answer to the Bible, be our brother's keeper. That saying carry us a long way. But some parents know, if I'm telling her, some parents will say that I will tell her how to treat her child, how to grow her child in our Jamaican society. Well, we need to break that chain, like try to communicate with other parents and teachers how to share your input on how we can raise our children in a better society.
So, Miss Claire, I don't know if that was very clear to you, but just gonna give you a summary of what Georgette said. So she basically spoke about supporting each other as parents in her community. So if she's doing something that her child might have behavior issues, and another parent, she would see another parent and probably communicate the issue to. It might be, she might get a different input on how to deal with her child. And she brought it down to the Bible, being each other, our brother's keeper. So it's just giving each other support as parents within the community. Anybody else? Yes,
Yeah.
come in.
Hi, morning, parents and teachers. Just to add a 2 cents to what Georgette said, yes, we should definitely be our brother's keeper. Also to be emotionally supportive to each parent, because we don't know what each one is going through on a daily basis, especially if there's more than one children in the picture. Saying, for instance, a single mother, for instance. So yes, having each other's back is a great deal.
Good morning, parents and teachers. Well, from my standpoint, I think that having a parent club would be a good asset for the parents in our communities because it can enables you how to deal with your children on a different standpoint. Sometimes what we fail to understand is that children are born with different personalities. So hence we have to know how to deal with them. Also, parents might be going through emotional trauma. So building a club, it will help the parents more on how to deal with their children. Thank you.
We have a few more, Claire, so just going to continue to share.
All right, we do have some more slides and more questions. So if you can just manage there for time, but it is wonderful to hear everyone's reflections.
Good morning, everyone. My take on it is that as teachers or caregivers, we can understand the background of where the child or children is coming from. First, we can look at it at a standpoint in giving support, as one person said, by communicating. Socially, we need to bond, to connect, before we can even address it. We need to understand where they are at and where you want to take them, because each need may be different based on each child, and we have to understand ethically where, if they want the support, because some persons may want the support, but they don't know how to accept the support. So may accept the support from you, but it may not be encouraged, or, you know, some say, yes, I need it, but they don't really need it. So in giving support, we have to be mindful of the person's background, what they're thinking, their mindset is, and then you can lead on. And you may ask a question, may I, you know, can I? And I think so that this is another way out, and I think if you do so, I think that may be better. So we have to be careful in giving support too. And if you see it is doing positive, we encourage it. So that is my take on it.
Okay, can go ahead, Claire.
Well, I must say I'm thrilled to hear those answers because it feeds so well into the following discussion. But just to summarize some of the key points there, it's very much around parents being aware that they can access support from others, whether it's at a community level or at another structure. It's about parents being willing to open up, because very often parents feel that for them to open up and say that they're struggling with a child, it feels like they failed as a parent. So the parents need to be willing to share their vulnerabilities. They need to know where to access the quality that is going to help them and enrich their parenting behaviors. So I'm also hearing there about the need for communities to be sensitized and prepared to offer support actively, kindly, respectfully to parents, irrespective of their parenting journey and where their children are at. So very, very real issues that parents face around the globe, and things that we can be mindful of as we better design and implement support for all parents. So let's move on then to what a parenting support framework could look like. And I'm going to be drawing on the recent development of the UNICEF ICARO Parenting Support Framework for Early Childhood Development. This framework is currently being launched in Serbia for the region. And following that launch, there are intentions to explore the relevance of this framework for global application and for across the first 2 decades of a child's life. So in other words, this is going to be something that we are going to start to dialogue in many countries, including your country, to get thoughts and reflections to inform its relevance for local application. So you're kind of getting a hot off the press kind of teaser today. To mention that core to the work is the core target audience. What are parents saying about the support they need? Which is why I posed that question at that point in the discussion, because it is around us understanding what parents need and then working from there to better design and implement parenting support interventions. So these were some of the comments that came from parents in Europe and Central Asia. And you can see these are universal issues. They affect all parents and caregivers wherever they are. You can see that we need to support parents with kind words, encouraging words. That can go a long way to uplifting a parent and giving them the strength to carry on. Let's go to another one. We need better conditions for young children in care. We need classes on parenting support. We need 24-hour expert support to answer emergency questions. So different ways in which parents want to be able to access parenting support depending on their need at that specific time. So at the core of a parenting support framework is the nurturing care framework, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with, but I'd just like to quickly run through the 5 core elements just to make sure that there's a solid understanding, and also to ensure that there's recognition that this parenting support framework, or PSF, has been built on evidence. So that loops back to the earlier point that the work we do must be based on evidence. So there are 5 core dimensions of offering nurturing care to children. There's good health, adequate nutrition, responsive caregiving, opportunities for early learning, and offering children safety and security. And this would be offered across all levels of society, so starting from a policy and an institutional level through to sectoral delivery, through to communities, and finally, and most importantly, it would be happening within families. And this is what parents and caregivers are offering to children: nurturing care, those 5 components to ensure that children are given every opportunity to thrive and achieve their potential. So what does this parenting support framework, this PSF, look like? So there are essentially 4 pyramids that make up the PSF, and we will go through briefly each of these pyramids. But just to give you a holistic starting point, right at the top, we have parenting behaviors, because that is the core of what we're trying to influence and strengthen. And sitting within the core of that pyramid is the nurturing care framework. So we are trying to influence and strengthen parenting behaviors so they're better able to offer nurturing care to children. The bottom pyramid, so mirroring the parenting behaviors, is the parenting support pyramid. And I'm sure you are all very familiar with the pyramid of parenting support. So that is key to how parenting support gets offered and tailored to parents' specific needs. And we do go into that a little bit later in the presentation. Then I'm going to jump to the gold pyramid. Here we're looking at the delivery of services from various sectors. And it's really important that those services are quality services, which means that they are inclusive and really centered around the needs of parents. They respond to parents' specific and evolving needs, respectfully and holistically. The green pyramid, the enabling environment, is very much about the big societal environment that would support parenting support being offered to parents and caregivers. So this refers broadly to policies, to regulations, to coordination mechanisms, to funding in order to create that enabling environment. So I'd like to go into this pyramid a little bit more closely, because it really is so, so important to understand what is this concept of parenting behaviors. What is it? We all seem to know what it is, but how do we strengthen it? Where do we enter? What are we trying to achieve? So I'm really unpacking what is parenting behaviors is the start for us to support and strengthen it. So I'm going to start at the apex of the pyramid, caregiving behaviors. So this forms part, obviously, very closely of responsive caregiving, but this is what we're seeing when parents offer direct care to children. So it's their interactions, it's their responses, it's their timely communications with children. It's responding to children's needs and requests as and when they proffer them, and doing it in a sensitive, warm, and skillful way. So caregiving is the loving, warm, sensitive interactions between parent and caregiver and the child. Let's move now to service seeking. Service seeking is around parents being aware and informed and able to access services that enable them to better support their children. So what could this look like? It means that a parent knows where they can go and access primary healthcare services, where they can access early learning facilities, where they can access child protection services, or possibly even where they can go to register a child's birth. So you can see how that falls across multiple components of the nurturing care framework. Of course, it is important that parents know that they can access their services. It's also equally important that those services are adequately equipped to sensitively and professionally offer quality services to those parents. And in that way, you get this drawdown, a request for services, and adequate supply and drawdown of services that enable parents to respond to their children's developmental needs as and when it's required. Let's jump now to self-care. And this is so important, and it really echoes what I heard the delegate saying a little earlier to the question, which is that parents have needs. Very often it's emotional needs, but it can also be physical needs. And parents need to take care of themselves if they're going to be able to offer nurturing care to children. So how do we support parents as individuals in their own right to be stronger and healthier and happier? Because we know this makes them better able to parent, and that then leads to positive child outcomes. So it really is an interrelated relationship between these facets that enable a parent to sensitively parent and offer children the nurturing care they need when they need it. So I'm going to once again pause and ask the delegates to reflect on this question. Which parenting behaviors do we believe we need to support, we need to strengthen to support children's development? So what, from your experience, either as parents and caregivers or in the work that you do, what is emerging as the priority parenting behaviors that need to be strengthened? If I can hand over to Ms. Shawnette again, please.
Okay. So, what do you need as parents to strengthen you to be better parents towards your children, basically? What you need to strengthen you to be a better parent to your child? What do you think?
Yes, first of all, you have to be mentally well. so that you can help others. So if you're not mentally well, you can be able to reach out to help others who are in need. Then, there and then, you have to look on the mindset of the parents that you're going to help. And also another one is attitude. The attitude of how you're going to relate to the parents, and you have to relate to the attitude that you're going to care for.
Thank you. Anyone else? Nobody else? No one needs strengthening? What kind of strengthening you need? No one else? All right. So I don't think the others want to share, Miss Claire.
Well, I do appreciate that comment from the delegate, especially maternal health.
I see one more. Just one
one
more.
more?
Yes.
Yes.
What you need to strengthen you as a parent.
Good morning, everyone. I believe that sometimes we need the family. The family plays a very big role in strengthening the parents of today's society, because sometimes mentally, us as young parents, we are not prepared to be parents. But if we get the support from our family, then definitely that will strengthen us to become better parents in order to be better parents to our children.
All right. So you can go ahead, Miss Claire. That's a big one. The family support.
Absolutely. But indeed, those two comments speak to each other, because the issue of caregiver mental health is absolutely critical in terms of offering nurturing care to parents. Yes, indeed, a caregiver needs to be mentally well to parent a child. And part of how a parent can be supported in terms of their mental health is knowing they have the support of others and being able to draw on that. So yes, family and community play a very big role in that. And to the point made earlier in the conversation with respect to the first question, somebody raised parenting clubs. That's another way of providing parents with support to give them the space and time that they need to take care of their own health and well-being. And that includes their mental health. If parents know that they are able to lean on others and just give themselves a break for a short while, it can build such strength and resilience and give them the fortitude to carry on and to be good parents. Very often it's when parents don't have a break, it's just relentless. It becomes overwhelming, and that builds up and eventually impacts on the caregiver's mental health and well-being. So yes, those points are spot on, and a lot of effort is needed to find ways to reach parents and say it's okay to need support. Mental health is really important, and we can help you. So there are also programs that help parents to find better ways to regulate their own emotions, how to discipline positively and kindly, how to manage stress, and all these facets together can holistically support parents to have stronger parenting behaviors. So thank you for that discussion. There will be more opportunity. So then let's move now to another area to focus on for this parenting support framework. And I'm going to talk now about the pyramid that was at the bottom of the diagram, which was the parenting support pyramid, or the programmatic parenting support pyramid. There are various terms that are used for this. But essentially what you're seeing here is that parents have different needs, and parenting support should be tailored to those parents' different needs. So we recognize that the needs of parents will change and evolve, both for themselves and as their children grow and develop, and their needs shift. And so parenting support may vary. Very briefly, we have at the bottom here that there needs to be an increase in awareness generally in society of the need to support parents. So if more families and community members are aware of reaching out and offering support to parents, then it can mean the absolute world to that parent and caregiver who's feeling quite desperate. Maybe is not quite comfortable to ask for help, but if it is offered, they would be very willing to take it. So that bottom level of this pyramid is really around raising the awareness generally in communities and societies of parents needing support. There's no shame in asking for support. It is part of the journey of being a parent. Moving a little bit upwards here, we realize that parents can be offered support when they go to the health clinic for services to check the baby's weight. They can be offered services to support their own mental well-being, their own physical needs. So parenting support can be offered into the infrastructure that already exists within sectoral service delivery. A little bit higher there, the light green, we're looking at targeted support. So this is typically for parents who have more specific needs, such as being young parents, first-time parents, single parents, etc. Perhaps there's a history of violence or any other issue where the parents are a little bit more vulnerable and could do with a little bit more support at that phase of life. So that falls under targeted support. And then at the top, we have intensive support. So this is for families with very complex needs. It may be a myriad of issues that the families are facing, both it could be for the child or for the parent or for both. And they really need a number of sectors to cluster around the family to offer them the support they need to get through that time where they're really challenging, where they're really challenged, sorry. So just to very quickly highlight where you could access support as a parent. In the health sector, we know that it can start from preconception all the way through the early years. There are many touch points where parents can access support. We know that in education, very often the early learning practitioner or the preschool teacher is able to build relationships with the parenting caregiver and able to provide some guidance and support that really can just uplift and strengthen the parenting behaviors. And in that way, the child can benefit. And of course, we have from a social protection angle, things such as general social services, allowances, cash transfers, etc. So there are different touch points there. Right, once again, I'm going to pause and ask for some reflection here. So we've spoken now about different sectoral touch points. We've spoken about the role of family and community in providing support. But as parents, do you know where you can access parenting support? Do you feel it is available to you? What are your thoughts around your current perspective with respect to parenting support? Again, if I can hand over to Ms. Shonette, thank you for your assistance.
Right here, right here. So where do you all get parent support from? You don't need not, because the Early Childhood Commission has a parent place in most of the parishes. Yes. Do we know about the parent play spaces? I hear the yeses coming out and they're not coming out strong. I hear it again. Do we know about the parent places that the early child...
Yes, recently.
And your parish is, miss?
Huh?
Which parish?
Which parish? Kingston.
All right, so Kingston and St. Andrew say, yes, there is a parent place where she recently opened, right? Yes, so those of you who are saying no, parent play spaces are offered in your parishes. If you can access the Early Childhood Commission website, it is there. All the list of parent places right across Jamaica, all right? But for some of you, are you able to access any other spaces that offers you support as parents?
For me as a parent, accessing information and support. For me as a parent, getting information and parent support, I will visit the CDA office in Maypen, Clarendon.
So we have the Child Protection and Family Support Agency. So that's one. Has anybody ever accessed their services? You can get services from them, man. So knowledge is power today for you. So when you go back to your spaces, you go back and you get more information. You can get information about being a better parent. Anybody else? You don't have nobody you want to talk to? It doesn't have to be formal. You don't have PTA.
We got support from my son's school. Like we have PTA meeting, we have workshops and stuff like that.
No, go like no. So PTA sessions, Parent-Teacher Association sessions, workshops, especially in Parent Month, which is November here, and I know that for GISP, June is Parent Month, right, Claire?
That is correct.
All right.
And I do hope to see Jamaica on the lineup for the global activities and share some of these parenting reflections.
Okay, you can go ahead. Oh, one more. Make it straight so much. Oh, make it straight so much.
Hello, good morning, everyone. All right. To what the lady just said about PTA, yes, that is good as well. And for me, I'm having a good neighbor. That really helps me, because what I've got to understand is that it's not everybody you can really tell your business to or talk to, because sometimes persons around you, even though you feel down and depressed, they're also down and depressed, and you can't talk to a down and depressed person because it is going to continue being depressed. So I realize that persons who are positive, have a positive mind and can motivate you, that is somebody that is good to have in your corner, because not all the while you can hang out with down and depressed persons. All right? So I realize that my neighbor is excellent.
So that's it, Claire. She has a good neighbor that she feels confident in sharing her situations. I have one more, Claire, just one more.
From my community, we get support from a past principal. She normally do parent workshops.
Okay, many years ago when I had my first child, I got support from the church towards parenting to help me in that capacity. So I think the church is a very good medium.
Yes, man, don't forget about church. That's a big one. Unless somehow we don't go to church, but we can find it there, you know. All right, take it over to you, Claire.
Thank you so much for those reflections, everybody. And what I'm really just thinking of as I listen to everybody share, and I'm just realizing how many access points there are, and perhaps sometimes we don't see it as parenting support. We see it as a friend, we see it as a neighbor, we see it as a school, we see it as a community. But indeed, all these touch points are ways that we get support as parents and caregivers. And those are also opportunities for us to do the same for other parents and caregivers. And in that way, we build a network of support, and we ensure that everybody feels that they do have somebody to turn to when things get challenging, as they inevitably do with parenting. So I think it's really a way that we can build communities, and in this way, if we can strengthen those structures, strengthen the conversation, we can strengthen the parenting behaviors, and ultimately the parent benefits and the child benefits. They're able to develop better. So it really is, it's something that we can all play a role in doing. and raise the quality of parenting support. So there's only 2 slides left, so we've got 4 minutes, we'll quickly whip through them. This one won't take long because I touched on a little bit earlier. It's really around ensuring that the services that are available to parents are quality services, that the workforce is trained, so the people delivering the service, whether it's a nurse or a doctor or a preschool teacher, that they are trained and able to really strengthen parenting behaviors. And then the enabling environment, as I mentioned earlier, it's around a societal-wide approach to strengthening parents. It's ensuring that the legislation and the policies are in place to support parents. So, for example, that there are breastfeeding breaks at workplaces, that parents who are struggling financially are able to draw down on grants and other financial and educational services. It's around workplaces allowing time off for fathers, allowing time off for mothers and fathers to take their children for health and other services. So there are very many ways in which we can support parents through creating an enabling environment. And of course, much of this needs to be financed, and very often the financing only flows when there are policies in place. So one thing does lead to the next. And but we do know that through creating an enabling environment, we are able to see shifts in behavior, and even though they may be small, with time they build up into social norms that help to strengthen our community structures and what we as individuals ultimately do. So a last question for everybody, and with this we are going to wrap up. But the last question is, as parents, who do you see as the champion for parenting and caregiver support in Jamaica? Who should be championing this? Who should be bringing the sectors together, driving this? I think probably we are sitting at the very conference where all of this happens. But perhaps, Ms. Shawnette, I can hand over to you once again. Who is our champion?
So based on that question, Claire, we can take 2 responses. Can I get 2 responses? Who will champion the cause for our parents overall in Jamaica? Who you think in the country know? It can be you too.
Well, first, I will say first, because the head of my life is God himself. God is the overall champion. Parents, first I will say the creator, right? Because we can say we can do all things through Christ who strengthens us. And parents who have gone through stuff that we have just experienced, which is the elderly persons who have experienced having a child or children and having a successful children, we can look up to them for good support. Caregivers that experience children, caring for children, and knowing that those children have turned out to be very successful, they can be the champion. We also can do it. And persons that, for instance, that the persons that are teaching this seminar, we can look up to them also. I don't know if
All right, good, good. One more? No more, or she said it all? Okay, say one more.
Yeah, good morning. I think my pastor is a champion where supporting is, because he always raising up champion by, you have your children, them come to Sunday school, you teach them to pray and things like that. For caregivers now, I am a caregiver because I always give to parents who can't afford it. And you can also, whenever you go to like children's hospital, you always find caregivers, like people who support disability children by assisting them to give them like a wheelchair or a crooked stick or stuff like that.
So basically, we think it is simple, but the simple is much. So you ourselves giving support to each other, and she also spoke about her church giving support to her. So she believes that the church, as well as herself, is actually a champion. And our first person who answered, Georgette, she spoke about persons who have been parents earlier, in the earlier years. Elderly persons in their communities who have gone through the whole parenting of young children, and those children are successful now. So yes, those are their champions, Claire.
Well, thank you for those reflections and for sharing once again. And I think on that note, as we conclude the presentation today, it's really about what you take forward as you leave from this conference, as parents, as members of your community, as members of the society. What do you take forward? And it really, I think that we all have a role to play in offering support to parents, to others. There's no shame in accessing support for yourself as a parent, and that together, if we are able to strengthen the support that we offer all parents, ultimately our children will benefit. They will be safe, they will feel loved, and they will be able to thrive and achieve their potential. And that's ultimately what this is all about. So with that said, I'd like to say thank you once again to the Commission for inviting the guests to present today and to meet with all of the delegates and to hear your reflections. Thank you for sharing, and go well. All the best.
So we would have always heard the statement, parenting did not come with a manual, true? Never came with a manual. And while we go along, we learn in the thing. We just get some here, some there, some from church, some from our parents, some from National Parenting Support Commission, some from the Early Childhood Parent Play Spaces, some from CPFSA. Yes, man, we're getting it as we go along and we're getting it right. But while you do it, you must remember self-care. Remember the other caregivers who would have passed through the system. And of course, all the services that I just spoke about. Those three will be your support throughout your parental journey. So, Claire, we want to thank you for being able to join us virtually. Look at virtual. We can say bless COVID for that, eh? All the way from what? Africa? Yes, she's joining us. So we want to give her a last warm welcome for her presentation. And of course, before you take a break, because we break now and you come back in the next 30 minutes, 10:30 would be our second session for the morning. I want you to share your thoughts on the session. So we have a few evaluation forms. Not everyone will get. So we will just do a random pick out and you get an evaluation form. You share your thoughts on the session, as well as once you're here, you need to register that you were here. So I believe Mr. Inarity or team at the back, they will have a barcode on the screen for you to register that you have been in this session. If you're having challenges with the technology, we have the manual sheet for you so you can actually register. All right? So we return for 10:30, so you can take a tippy-toe outside, take a breather, and we come back at 10:30. Thank you. Oh, as soon as you have completed the evaluation sheets, you return them to either myself or Mrs. Pandu, who is to my right. All right, thank you.